Charlotte Wexler had everything: billions of dollars, a corporate empire, and the respect of everyone who mattered. But in just 30 seconds of security footage, her perfect world would crumble into dust. The viral video showed her humiliating a black janitor in her own building, painting her as the cruel billionaire everyone loves to hate. What the world didn't know was that someone she trusted with her life had orchestrated every frame, every angle, every devastating moment to destroy her. As her ex-husband circled like a vulture threatening to take her daughter away, and her board of directors prepared to throw her to the wolves, Charlotte would discover that salvation would come from the most unexpected place: the very man the world believed she had wronged. But when the truth finally surfaces, the betrayal will run deeper than anyone imagined, and the person behind it all will shock you to your core. If you're ready to witness how one woman's fall from grace became her greatest triumph, subscribe and tell me where you're watching from. Charlotte Wexler stood at her kitchen counter, checking her phone while spreading peanut butter on wheat bread. The morning sun streamed through her townhouse windows, making everything look perfect. Her suit was pressed, her hair was smooth, her schedule was packed. "Mom, you're making it too thick," 7-year-old Evie said from the breakfast table. She swung her legs and watched her mom with worried eyes. "Sorry, baby." Lottie scraped some peanut butter off and tried again. "Better," Evie nodded, but her face stayed serious. "Career day is next Friday. Will you come?" Lottie's phone buzzed, 3 new emails. "Of course I'll be there. I promised, didn't I?" "You promise a lot of things," Evie said quietly. The words hit harder than they should have. Lottie looked at her daughter, really looked. Evie's backpack was ready by the door. Her lunch was packed, everything was organized, but something felt empty. "I'll be there," Lottie said, putting her phone down. "I mean it." Evie smiled, but it was small and careful, the kind of smile that said she'd heard this before. At school drop-off, Lottie walked Evie to the door, like always, but today felt different. A group of parents stopped talking when she got close. Their voices got quiet. Their eyes followed her. "Have a good day, sweetheart," Lottie said, kissing Evie's forehead. "Love you, Mom." "Love you too." Lottie walked back to her car feeling strange, like everyone was watching her, like they knew something she didn't. 20 minutes later, she rushed through the lobby of Wexler Industries. Her heels clicked on the marble floor. Her mind was already on the 10 o'clock meeting. She barely noticed the cleaning cart in her path until she nearly walked into it. "Excuse me," she said, not really looking at the person moving it. The man stepped aside without a word. He was tall, with steady hands and quiet eyes. He wore a dark blue uniform and moved with purpose. Lottie didn't stop to see his face. She had places to be. Her assistant Renee was waiting by the elevator. "Good morning. Your 9:30 moved to 10:15, and your dry cleaning is ready." Perfect. Lottie stepped into the elevator, already forgetting about the man with the cart. But he remembered her. Malik Grant had worked night shift at this building for 3 years. He knew all the executives by sight. Most of them acted like he was part of the furniture. This lady was no different, polite but distant, present but not really there. He went back to his cleaning, thinking nothing of it. 2 hours later, everything changed. "Lottie, we have a problem." Renee burst into her office, holding her phone. "There's a video. It's going viral." Lottie looked up from her computer. "What kind of video?" "You and the janitor, this morning in the lobby." "What?" Lottie's stomach dropped. "Show me." Renee turned her phone around. On the screen was grainy security footage of Lottie walking through the lobby. The cleaning cart was in her way, but the video made it look different. It made it look like she said something cruel, like she treated the worker badly. "This isn't what happened," Lottie said, watching the clip again. "The caption says, 'Billionaire CEO humiliates janitor,'" Renee read. "It has 50,000 views already." Lottie felt sick. She remembered the moment. She'd been in a hurry. She'd said, "Excuse me," and walked around the cart. Nothing more. But the video made it look ugly. "How is this possible?" she whispered. "I don't know, but it's everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. People are angry." Lottie's phone started ringing. Her board of directors. "This is bad," Renee said. "Really bad." The video kept spreading. By lunchtime, it was trending. By 2 o'clock, the board wanted an emergency call. By 3, Lottie was sitting in her office, staring at her computer screen while 7 voices talked at her through the speakers. "We need to address this immediately," said Graham Vale, her CFO. His voice was smooth and concerned. "The optics are terrible." "Charlotte, this affects the whole company," added another board member. "Our reputation is at stake." "What do you want me to do?" Lottie asked. "A public apology," Graham said. "Something humble. Show you understand the impact." "But I didn't do anything wrong." "It doesn't matter," Graham said gently. "It matters what people think. You know how these things work." Lottie's chest felt tight. She'd built this company from nothing. Now they wanted her to admit to something that never happened. "Just think about it," Graham said. "Think about Evie. Kids at school talk. You don't want this following her around." When the call ended, Lottie sat alone in her office. The city spread out below her windows. Everything looked normal from up here, but her world was falling apart. Her phone buzzed, a text from Derek, Evie's father. "Evie shouldn't be around this mess. Maybe she should stay with me for a while." Lottie's hand started shaking. Derek had never wanted custody before, but now, with this scandal, he was circling like a shark. She put her head in her hands and tried not to cry. At school pickup, Evie was waiting by the fence. She looked small and worried. When she saw Lottie, she ran over and grabbed her hand tight. "Mom, some kids saw the video," Evie whispered as they walked to the car. "What video, baby?" "The one where you're mean to the man." Lottie's heart broke a little more. "I wasn't mean, sweetheart. The video isn't true." "But why would people say it if it's not true?" Lottie didn't have a good answer. They were almost to the car when Derek appeared. He looked like he always did. Perfect suit, perfect smile, perfect timing to make everything worse. "Lottie, how are you holding up?" "I'm fine," she said, keeping Evie close. "This is a tough situation. Maybe Evie should come stay with me until things calm down." "Absolutely not." Derek's smile got sharper. "I'm just thinking about what's best for her. All this negative attention can't be healthy." "She's staying with me." "Of course. I just want you to know the option is there, if things get worse." He walked away, leaving Lottie feeling sick. Derek never did anything without a plan. This wasn't about protecting Evie. This was about using the scandal to get what he'd always wanted. In the car, Evie was quiet, too quiet. "Are you okay?" Lottie asked. Evie looked at her with serious brown eyes. "Mom, are you mean to people?" The question hit like a punch to the chest. This was what her daughter was thinking about. This was what the video had done. "No, baby, I try never to be mean to anyone." "But the video." "The video is wrong. Sometimes people make things look different than they really are." Evie nodded, but she didn't look convinced. She stared out the window for the rest of the drive home. That night, after Evie was asleep, Lottie went back to the office. The building was empty, except for security and cleaning staff. She sat at her desk, trying to write an apology that might make everything go away. "I'm sorry for any misunderstanding," she typed, then deleted it. "I regret that my actions." Delete. "While I never intended." Delete. Nothing felt right because nothing was true. But Graham was right about one thing. The truth didn't seem to matter anymore. She was still typing when she heard a soft knock on her door. "Ma'am, are you all right?" Lottie looked up, startled. It was the janitor from the lobby, the man from the video. He stood in her doorway, polite and careful, holding something in his hand. "I'm fine," she said automatically, "just working late." "I found this by the trash can," he said, stepping into the room. "Thought you might want it back." He held out a visitor's badge. Someone had dropped it and he'd picked it up. Such a small thing, but it was kind. "Thank you," she said, taking the badge. Their fingers didn't touch, but she noticed his hands were steady and clean. Working hands. "I'm Malik," he said. "Malik Grant." "Charlotte, but people call me Lottie." He nodded. "About that video." Lottie's chest got tight again. "I'm sorry if I was rude this morning. I was in a hurry, but that's no excuse." Malik looked confused. You weren't rude. You said excuse me and walked around my cart. That's it. But the video is wrong. Malik's voice was firm. I was there. Nothing bad happened. Lottie stared at him. No one else had said that. Not her board, not her lawyers, not even Renee. Everyone assumed the worst, but this man had been there. He knew the truth. Then why does it look so bad? She asked. Malik was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Can I show you something? He led her to the lobby. It was empty now, lit only by security lights. Malik pointed to the digital sign that showed the time and building announcements. That sign cycles every 30 seconds, he said. Different. Ads, different times. But in the video, it showed the wrong time. Lottie looked closer. He was right. The timestamp on the video didn't match what the sign should have been showing. And this door, Malik said, walking to a maintenance entrance near the elevators. It's supposed to be locked during business hours. But this morning, I found it propped open. Someone wanted a different camera angle. What are you saying? I'm saying someone set this up. Someone wanted you to look bad. The words hit her like cold water. Someone she trusted had done this. Someone who knew her schedule, who had access to the building, who could edit security footage. Why are you telling me this? She asked. Malik met her eyes. Because it's the truth. And because everyone deserves to know the truth. Lottie felt something break open in her chest. Not fear this time, but hope. Can you prove it? She asked. Maybe. Building access logs, camera files, work orders for that door. But it'll take time. And whoever did this won't make it easy. Lottie reached for her purse, thinking about money, about payment, but Malik stepped back. I'm not for sale, he said quietly. I'm a person, not a prop. If you want my help, it's because you want the truth, not because you paid for it. His words stung because they were right. She'd been about to treat him like everyone else she dealt with, as someone whose loyalty could be bought. I'm sorry, she said. You're right. Will you help me? She asked finally. Malik looked at her for a long moment. If you fight this, someone inside your world will come for you harder. You ready for that? Lottie thought about Evie asking if she was mean to people, about Derek circling like a vulture, about Graham's smooth voice pushing her to lie. Yes, she said, I'm ready. The next morning felt different. Lottie made Evie's lunch with shaking hands. She hadn't slept much. Every sound outside made her jump. You look tired, Mom, Evie said over cereal. I am tired, but I'm okay. Evie reached across the table and patted her hand. You and me together, right? Always, baby. You and me together. Evie smiled and handed her a piece of paper, a drawing of two stick figures holding hands. You and me safe, she said. Lottie almost cried right there at the kitchen table. At work, she met Malik by the building's facilities office. He showed her the camera angles, the door props, the sign rotation times. Renee listened with growing anger. Someone planned this, Renee said. This took work. Who has access to edit security footage? Lottie asked. Any board member, senior management, IT department. Malik's voice was steady, but his eyes were worried. That afternoon, Graham stopped by her office. His smile was warm and concerned. How's the apology letter coming along? Fine, Lottie lied. It was the first lie she told him, and it felt terrible. Good. The sooner we put this behind us, the better, for everyone. After he left, Lottie felt sick. Graham had been her friend for 5 years, her trusted advisor. But now she wondered what was behind that perfect smile. In the parking garage that evening, she found something on her windshield. A newspaper clipping with the headline, Cruel Billionaire Mom? Someone had taken the story further, made it personal. Her phone rang, Renee sounding scared. Lottie, I just got an email. There's a special board session tomorrow. They're calling it a leadership transition proposal. Lottie's world tilted. Leadership transition. They were going to fire her. Who called the meeting? She asked. Graham. Of course it was Graham. Her friend, her trusted CFO. The man who'd been pushing her to apologize for something she didn't do. Suddenly everything was clear and everything was falling apart. That night, Derek called about Evie. "I think she should stay with me until this blows over," he said. "For her own good." "No. Lottie, be reasonable. This is getting ugly. Do you really want her in the middle of it?" "She stays with me. I'll document this conversation, that you chose your pride over her stability." The line went dead. Lottie sat on her couch, feeling like the walls were closing in. Evie appeared in the doorway in her pajamas. "Mom, my tummy hurts." "Come here, sweetheart." Evie curled up next to her. Her small body was warm and trusting. This was what mattered. Not the board, not the company, not even her reputation. This little girl who needed her. "Is everything going to be okay?" Evie whispered. "Yes," Lottie said, holding her close. "It's going to be okay." She just hoped she wasn't lying. Later, after Evie was asleep, Lottie got an anonymous text message. "Stop digging, or you'll lose more than your job." She stared at the words until they blurred. Someone was watching her. Someone knew she was looking for the truth, and they wanted her to stop, but she couldn't stop, not anymore. Too much was at stake, her daughter's faith in her, her own ability to look at herself in the mirror. Tomorrow, she would face the board. Tomorrow, she would fight for the truth. Tonight, she just held her daughter and tried not to be afraid. Outside her window, the city hummed with life. Somewhere out there, Malik was finishing his shift, going home to his own worries. He'd risked his job to help her. A stranger who owed her nothing. That meant something. That meant everything. Whatever came next, she wouldn't face it alone. The next morning came too fast. Lottie stood in front of her bathroom mirror, trying to put on mascara with shaking hands. Today was the board meeting. Today, they might fire her. "Mom, you're making a funny face," Evie said from the doorway. "Just trying not to poke my eye out," Lottie said, forcing a smile. Evie giggled, and the sound made everything feel a little better. At school drop-off, Lottie walked Evie all the way to her classroom. She didn't care about being late anymore. She didn't care what other parents thought. All she cared about was this moment with her daughter. "Have a good day, sweetheart." "You too, Mom. Don't let anybody be mean to you." Lottie's heart squeezed. "I won't. I promise." At work, the building felt different. People whispered when she walked by. Some looked sorry for her. Others looked excited, like they were watching a show. Renee was waiting with coffee and worried eyes. "The meeting is in an hour. Graham sent the agenda. It's not good." "What does it say?" "Leadership review, stakeholder concerns, interim management structure." Renee's voice was tight. "They're going to ask you to step down." Lottie nodded. She'd expected this, but knowing it was coming didn't make it easier. "There's something else," Renee said. "Malik wants to see you. He's in conference room C." Lottie found Malik sitting at the small table, looking out of place in the fancy room. He had a folder in front of him and determination in his eyes. "I found more," he said without preamble. "Work order 4, that maintenance store. It was submitted by someone in management yesterday morning, an hour before your lobby incident." "Who submitted it?" Malik slid a paper across the table. Graham Vale's signature was at the bottom. Lottie stared at it until the letters blurred. Her friend, her trusted CFO, the man who'd comforted her, advised her, pushed her to apologize for something he'd orchestrated. "There's more," Malik said. "Camera access logs show someone downloaded the lobby footage at 11:47 a.m., 20 minutes after it happened, before it even went viral." Graham again? His access code. Could have been someone using his computer, but Malik's voice trailed off. But probably him. Lottie felt sick. 5 years of friendship. 5 years of trust. All of it a lie. "Why would he do this?" she whispered. "I don't know. But I know this. You didn't do anything wrong, and I can prove it. Lottie looked at him sitting across from her. This man who barely knew her but was risking everything to help her, while her oldest friend was stabbing her in the back. The board meeting is in 30 minutes, she said. Then we go in there and tell them the truth. They won't want to hear it. Graham is one of them. You're the person who built this company, Malik said firmly. You're the mother who comes to work every day to take care of her daughter. You're the woman who says excuse me to janitors instead of treating them like furniture. That matters. His words hit her like a warm wave. Someone believed in her. Someone saw her as more than a scandal. Will you come with me? She asked. To the meeting? Malik hesitated. I'm just a janitor. They won't listen to me. You're the only witness. You're the only one who knows what really happened. And if they don't believe me, if they think I'm lying to protect you? Lottie met his eyes. Then at least we'll have told the truth. Malik nodded slowly. Okay, let's go tell the truth. The boardroom felt like a courtroom. 7 faces around the polished table, all looking at Lottie like she'd disappointed them. Graham sat at the far end, his expression sad and concerned. The perfect act. Charlotte, thank you for coming, said Margaret Eldon, the board chair. We need to discuss the current situation. The video has been devastating to our reputation, said another board member. Stock price is down 12%. Our clients are asking questions, added a third. Some are reconsidering contracts. Graham leaned forward, his voice gentle. Lottie, we all care about you, but sometimes leadership means knowing when to step aside, for the good of the company. And for your own good, Margaret added. This scrutiny can't be easy on your family. They were right about that. Evie was asking questions Lottie couldn't answer. Derek was circling like a shark. The stress was eating her alive. But the truth was eating her alive too. Before we discuss leadership changes, Lottie said, I need to show you something. She pulled out the documents Malik had found. The work order, the access logs, the timeline that proved the video was fake. What is this? Margaret asked. Proof that the video was staged. The maintenance door was propped open on purpose. Someone downloaded the footage before it went viral. Someone edited it to make me look bad. The room went quiet. Eyes moved from the documents to Graham, who was no longer looking sad. He was looking angry. This is ridiculous, Graham said. You're making wild accusations instead of taking responsibility. Then explain your signature on this work order, Lottie said, sliding it across the table. Graham barely glanced at it. I signed dozens of work orders. I don't remember every one. This one was submitted an hour before the incident, for a door that's never supposed to be open during business hours. Coincidence. And the camera access logs showing your code downloading footage 20 minutes after it happened? I downloaded it to see what everyone was talking about, like everyone else. His answers were smooth, too smooth, like he'd been practicing them. There's one more thing, Lottie said. She looked toward the door. Malik? Malik entered quietly. He looked calm, but Lottie could see the tension in his shoulders. He knew how this looked. A black janitor accusing a white CFO in a room full of powerful people. Tell them what you saw, Lottie said. Malik cleared his throat. Ma'am, nothing bad happened in that lobby. Miss Wexler said excuse me and walked around my cart. That's all. I was there. The video is wrong. Of course you'd say that, Graham said with a thin smile. You're hoping for some reward, aren't you? Maybe a promotion? A nice payoff? Malik's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed steady. I'm telling the truth because it's the truth, not for money. How convenient. The janitor becomes the hero. Graham's voice had an edge now. The mask was slipping. Graham, Margaret said sharply. That's enough. But Graham was just getting started. We're supposed to believe this person over security footage? Over our own eyes? The way he said person made Lottie's blood boil. Like Malik was less than human. like his word meant nothing because of who he was. "His name is Malik," Lottie said, her voice cold. "And yes, you should believe him, because he's telling the truth." "The truth?" Graham laughed. "The truth is that you've always been careless with people, demanding, cold. This video just showed everyone what we already knew." The words hit like slaps, but they also revealed something important. This wasn't about one moment in a lobby. This was personal. "How long have you been planning this?" Lottie asked. "I haven't planned anything. I'm trying to save this company from your arrogance." "By destroying me?" "By showing the board who you really are." The room was dead silent. Graham had said too much. His anger had made him careless. Margaret looked at the documents again, then at Malik, then at Graham. "I think we need a recess," she said. "Graham, could you step outside for a moment?" Graham's face went pale. "Margaret, you're not seriously considering." "Outside. Now." After Graham left, the room felt different, lighter, like a storm cloud had passed. "Mr. Grant," Margaret said to Malik, "tell us again what you witnessed." Malik repeated his story, simple, clear, honest. No one interrupted him this time. "And you found evidence of tampering?" Margaret asked Lottie. "The work order, the access logs, the timeline doesn't match. Someone planned this." Margaret studied the papers for a long moment. "We'll need to investigate this thoroughly. In the meantime, Charlotte, you'll retain your position. The leadership transition proposal is tabled indefinitely." Lottie felt her knees go weak with relief. "As for Mr. Vale," Margaret continued, "he'll be placed on administrative leave pending investigation." It was over. Not completely, but enough. The immediate threat was gone. After the board members left, Lottie and Malik sat alone in the empty conference room. "Thank you," she said. "I know that wasn't easy." "He called me this person," Malik said quietly, "like I was nothing." "You're not nothing. You saved my life in there." "Did I? Or did I just make things harder for you?" Lottie looked at him, really looked. He was tired, worried. He'd put himself on the line for someone he barely knew, and now he was second-guessing it. "You did the right thing," she said. "Whatever happens next, you did the right thing." Malik nodded, but he still looked uncertain. "Can I ask you something?" Lottie said. "Sure." "Why did you help me, really?" Malik was quiet for a moment. "My mom cleaned offices for 30 years. She came home with stories about people who looked through her like she wasn't there, people who treated her like furniture." He met Lottie's eyes. "You said excuse me. It sounds small, but it's not. It means you saw me as a person." Lottie felt tears prick her eyes. Such a small thing. 2 words. But it had changed everything. "I want to do better," she said. "I want to see people, really see them." "Then do it," Malik said simply. That evening, Lottie picked up Evie from school with a lighter heart. The crisis wasn't over, but the worst was behind them, at least for now. "You look happier, Mom," Evie said in the car. "I am happier. Some good things happened today." "What kind of good things?" "A friend helped me when I needed it, and I learned something important." "What did you learn?" Lottie thought about Malik's steady voice in that boardroom, his quiet courage, his refusal to be bought or dismissed. "I learned that good people come in all kinds of packages, and sometimes the most important person in the room is the one everyone's ignoring." Evie nodded seriously. "Like in my book about the mouse who saved the lion?" Exactly like that. That night, after Evie was in bed, Lottie sat on her couch with a cup of tea and actually relaxed for the first time in days. Her phone buzzed with messages, reporters wanting statements, board members wanting updates, lawyers wanting meetings. But there was one message that made her smile. From Malik. "Hope your daughter's homework went well. See you tomorrow. Simple, kind, real. She typed back, "Thank you for everything." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, anytime. Lottie stared at that word for a long time. Anytime. Like he meant it. Like this wasn't just a crisis friendship that would fade when the drama ended. She found herself wanting to know more about him. What did he do when he wasn't working? Did he have family? What made him laugh? What made him worry? These were dangerous thoughts for a woman who just survived a boardroom coup, but they were also hopeful thoughts. And hope had been in short supply lately. Outside her window, the city was settling into night. Somewhere out there, Malik was going about his evening. Maybe cooking dinner, maybe watching TV. Maybe thinking about the strange day when a billionaire CEO asked for his help and actually listened to his answer. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Graham wouldn't go quietly. The media would keep digging. Derek would keep pushing for custody, but tonight, for the first time in days, Lottie felt like she wasn't facing those challenges alone. She had an unexpected ally, a quiet hero who saw her as a person worth defending. That was more than she'd had yesterday, and it was enough to build on. The next morning brought new problems. Graham had hired his own lawyer and was fighting the investigation. He was claiming the work order was forged, the access logs were misinterpreted, and Malik was lying for money. "He's making this a he said, she said situation," Renee explained over coffee. "Your word and Malik's against his." "But we have evidence." "Circumstantial evidence. A good lawyer can explain it away." Lottie felt her hope cracking. "So what do we do?" "We find more proof, or we hope Graham makes another mistake. And in the meantime, we pray the board keeps believing us." That afternoon, Lottie was leaving a meeting when she saw Malik in the lobby, but something was wrong. He was at the security desk, turning in his badge and ID. "What are you doing?" she asked, hurrying over. "I quit," Malik said simply. "What? Why?" "Because Graham's people have been calling my supervisor, making complaints, saying I'm unreliable, that I don't do my job well. It's easier if I just go." Lottie felt sick. "This is my fault. They're punishing you because you helped me." "It's not your fault. It's their fault for being who they are." "Don't quit, please. I'll talk to building management. I'll fix this." Malik shook his head. "I won't be your pet charity case. I won't let you fight my battles for me." "This isn't charity. This is friendship." "Is it?" Malik's eyes were hard. "Or is it guilt? Rich lady makes trouble for working man, then tries to make it right with her money and connections?" His words stung because they hit too close to something she worried about. Was she trying to help him, or was she trying to feel better about herself? "I don't know," she said honestly. "Maybe both. But I know you don't deserve to lose your job because you told the truth." Malik studied her face. "You really don't know, do you?" "Know what?" "What it's like to be me in a place like this. What it costs to speak up. What it means when people like Graham decide you're a problem." Lottie felt small and ignorant. "You're right, I don't know. But I want to understand." Understanding and living it are different things. "Then help me understand. Don't just walk away." Malik was quiet for a long moment. Then he picked up his badge and ID from the security desk. "I'll stay," he said. "But not because you asked me to. Because I'm not letting them chase me away from an honest job." Relief flooded through Lottie. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. This is going to get uglier before it gets better." He was right. That evening, Derek showed up at Lottie's house with a folder full of papers. "Custody petition," he said, holding them up. "This scandal proves you're unfit to provide a stable environment." "Based on what? A fake video?" "Based on your pattern of poor judgment, your association with questionable people, your inability to keep your personal drama out of the headlines." "Get off my property." "I'll see you in court, Lottie, and I'll win." After he left, Lottie sat on her front steps and tried not to panic. Derek was serious this time. He smelled blood in the water and was moving fast. Her phone rang. Malik. "You okay? You sounded upset in your text." "Derek filed for custody. He's using the scandal against me." "Can he do that?" "He can try, and right now, it might work." Malik was quiet. Then, "What do you need?" "I need a miracle." "Fresh out of those. How about dinner instead?" Lottie almost smiled despite everything. "What?" "Come eat with me. Nothing fancy, just food and conversation. Sometimes talking helps." "I can't. Evie has school tomorrow, and I need to." "Bring Evie. I make good grilled cheese." The offer caught her off guard, not because it was inappropriate, but because it was normal. In the middle of all this chaos, someone was offering her something simple and real. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. You shouldn't be alone tonight." An hour later, Lottie found herself in Malik's small apartment with Evie beside her. The place was clean and comfortable, filled with books and plants and the smell of dinner cooking. "This is nice," Evie said, looking around. "It feels cozy." Malik smiled. "Thank you. I like cozy better than fancy." They ate grilled cheese and tomato soup at his small kitchen table. Evie chattered about school and her friends, slowly relaxing in the warm atmosphere. Malik listened to her stories and asked questions, like he really cared about the answers. "You're good with her," Lottie said quietly while Evie was examining his bookshelf. "I like kids. They're honest. They say what they mean." "Not like adults." "Not like some adults." After dinner, Evie fell asleep on Malik's couch, curled up with a book about dragons. Lottie and Malik sat in the kitchen, talking quietly. "I'm scared," Lottie admitted. "About the custody thing, about everything." "Being scared doesn't make you weak. It feels weak. Fear means you care about something worth protecting." Malik looked toward the living room where Evie was sleeping. "You're fighting for your daughter. That's not weak, that's love." Lottie felt tears threaten. "What if I lose her?" "You won't." "How can you be so sure?" "Because I've seen you with her. I've seen how much she loves you. Love that's strong doesn't just disappear because of some lawyer's papers." His certainty was comforting, like an anchor in a storm. "Can I ask you something?" Lottie said, "Why aren't you married? You'd be a good father." Malik was quiet for a moment. "Haven't found the right person yet, and after watching my parents' marriage fall apart, I'm careful. I don't want to promise something I can't deliver." "What would you promise, if you found the right person?" "Consistency, honesty, showing up when it matters." He met her eyes. "Not grand gestures, just being there." Lottie felt something warm spread through her chest. Not attraction exactly, though that was there too. Something deeper, recognition, like she was seeing something she'd been looking for without knowing it. "We should go," she said, standing up too quickly. "It's late." Malik helped her carry sleeping Evie to the car. As Lottie buckled her daughter in, Malik said, "You're going to be okay, both of you." "How do you know?" "Because you're stronger than you think, and you're not fighting alone anymore." Driving home, Lottie thought about those words, not fighting alone. When was the last time that had been true? She'd been fighting alone for so long, she'd forgotten what support felt like. But now she remembered, and it felt like hope. The next few days felt like living in a fishbowl. Reporters called constantly. Photographers waited outside Evie's school. The story had grown beyond a simple workplace incident into something bigger and uglier. "Billionaire scandal deepens," read one headline. "Custody battle looms," said another. Lottie tried to shield Evie from the worst of it, but 7-year-olds notice everything. "Why are there cameras outside our house?" Evie asked one morning. "Some people are interested in a story about Mommy's work," Lottie said carefully. "Are you in trouble?" "No, baby. Some people think I am, but I'm not." Evie nodded like she understood, but her face stayed worried. At work, things were getting worse. Graham's lawyer was fighting hard, claiming the evidence was planted. He'd hired a private investigator who was digging into Lottie's life, looking for anything that could be used against her. "They're interviewing your college roommates," Renee reported. "Your old babysitters, anyone who might say something negative." "About what?" "Your parenting, your personality, your relationship history. They're building a case that you're unstable and unfit." Lottie felt sick. For Derek's custody petition? And for Graham's defense. If they can paint you as an unhinged boss, it makes his story more believable. That afternoon, Malik found Lottie sitting alone in the empty cafeteria, staring at her untouched lunch. "You look like you're planning to disappear," he said, sitting across from her. "Maybe I should. Take Evie and just go somewhere nobody knows us." "Running away doesn't solve anything." "Staying here isn't solving anything either. Graham's winning. Derek's winning. I'm just losing everything slowly." Malik reached across the table and touched her hand. His skin was warm and calloused from work. "You're not losing. You're fighting. There's a difference." "It doesn't feel like fighting. It feels like drowning." "Then let me help you swim." Lottie looked at him, really looked. This man who kept showing up when she needed him most, who asked for nothing and gave everything. "Why?" she asked. "Why do you keep helping me? You could walk away. Find another job. Forget this mess." Malik was quiet for a moment. "My dad left when I was 10. Said the pressure was too much. Said it was easier to start over somewhere else." He met her eyes. "I promised myself I'd never be the person who walks away when things get hard. This isn't your fight. It became my fight when they tried to use me as a weapon against you. When they called me that person like I don't matter." His voice was steady but intense. "Nobody gets to do that. Not to me, not to you." Lottie felt something shift inside her. Not just gratitude, but something deeper. Something that scared her because it felt too big for the moment. "What if we lose?" she asked. "Then we lose fighting. Together." That word again, together. It was starting to mean something different than it used to. That evening, Lottie was helping Evie with homework when her phone rang, Derek's lawyer. "Ms. Wexler, we need to schedule a custody evaluation. The court has appointed Dr. Patricia Henley to assess the situation." "When?" "Tomorrow at 2 p.m., she'll want to interview you, observe your interaction with Evie, and review your living situation." After the call ended, Lottie sat on the couch feeling overwhelmed. Everything was happening too fast. The evaluation, the investigation, the media attention. It was all spiraling out of control. "Mom, you look scared again," Evie said, climbing onto her lap. "I am scared, baby, but being scared doesn't mean we give up." "What are we not giving up on?" "Each other, our family, our home." Evie hugged her tight. "I don't want to live with Daddy. He's not mean, but he doesn't know how I like my sandwiches cut." Lottie almost cried. Such a small thing, but it mattered. It mattered so much. The next day, Dr. Henley arrived exactly on time. She was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a notebook that she wrote in constantly. "Tell me about your typical day with Evie," she said. Lottie walked her through their routine: morning breakfast together, school drop-off, work, pickup, homework, dinner, stories before bed. "What about discipline? How do you handle behavioral issues?" "Timeouts mostly, taking away screen time, talking about why choices matter." Dr. Henley made notes. "And your work schedule? How much time does that take away from parenting?" The question stung because it hit a real worry. "I work long hours sometimes, but I'm always available for Evie. She comes first." "Even during this current crisis?" "Especially during this crisis." Dr. Henley interviewed Evie separately, asking her questions about her home, her school, her feelings about both parents. Lottie. waited outside the room, trying not to imagine all the ways this could go wrong. After the interview, Dr. Henley said she'd have her report ready in a week. "Is there anything else you think I should know?" she asked as she prepared to leave. Lottie thought about mentioning Malik, but decided against it. A new relationship would just give Derek more ammunition. "Just that I love my daughter more than anything in the world," Lottie said. "Everything I do is for her." Dr. Henley nodded and left, taking Lottie's fate with her. That weekend, Lottie tried to give Evie a normal experience. They went to the park, made cookies, watched movies, but the cameras followed them everywhere, and normal felt impossible. On Sunday evening, Malik texted, "How did the evaluation go?" "Hard to tell. The psychologist was nice but professional. I won't know anything for a week." "Want to talk about it?" Lottie looked at Evie, who was coloring at the kitchen table, and made a decision. "Come over for dinner? Nothing fancy, just spaghetti and company." "Are you sure? With all the photographers around." "I don't care anymore. I'm tired of hiding." An hour later, Malik arrived with flowers for Lottie and a coloring book for Evie. The flowers were simple, grocery store daisies, but they were chosen with care. "Thank you," Lottie said, accepting them. "You didn't have to." "I wanted to." Dinner was chaotic in the best way. Evie spilled sauce on her shirt. Malik told stories about his nephew that made them both laugh. For 2 hours, they felt like a normal family. After Evie went to bed, Lottie and Malik sat on the front porch, ignoring the photographers across the street. "Let them take pictures," Lottie said. "I'm done pretending you don't matter to me." Malik looked surprised. "What does that mean?" "It means, I don't know what it means yet, but I know I care about you, more than I probably should." "Why shouldn't you?" "Because I'm a mess, because I might lose my daughter, because my life is falling apart, and you deserve better than that." Malik turned to face her fully. "You don't get to decide what I deserve. That's my choice." "And what do you choose?" "I choose you, mess and all." The words hung between them like a bridge. Lottie felt tears threaten. "What if I lose everything? What if Derek gets custody? What if Graham wins and I lose my company too?" "Then we figure it out, together." "You keep saying that word." "Because I mean it." Lottie leaned against him, feeling his solid warmth. For the first time in weeks, she felt safe. Monday brought bad news. Graham's lawyer had found something. "A complaint filed against you 3 years ago," Renee explained, her face grim. "A former employee claimed you created a hostile work environment." "Sarah Martinez? But that was dismissed. She was stealing from petty cash and got fired for it. She filed the complaint out of spite." "Doesn't matter. It's still on your record. Graham's team is using it to show a pattern of poor treatment of employees." Lottie felt the walls closing in again. What else? "Derek's lawyer is calling witnesses for the custody hearing. They have your college roommate who says you were obsessive and controlling in school." "Jenny Patterson? I haven't talked to her in 10 years. "And your former babysitter who says you were demanding and critical." "Mrs. Chen? She loved Evie. Why would she say that?" "Money talks, Lottie. Derek's paying for these statements." The hits kept coming. That afternoon, Lottie found out that Graham had hired the same public relations firm Derek was using. They were coordinating their attacks. "It's a full campaign," Malik said when she called him. "They're trying to destroy you from every angle." "It's working." "Not if we fight back." "With what? They have lawyers, investigators, PR firms. What do we have?" "We have the truth." The truth doesn't seem to matter anymore. That evening, Lottie sat in her living room, surrounded by legal papers and feeling defeated. Evie was doing homework at the dining table, occasionally glancing over with worried eyes. "Mom, are you okay?" she asked finally. "I'm thinking, baby." "About what?" "About how to fix things." Evie put down her pencil and came over to sit beside her mom on the couch. "Maybe you can't fix everything," she said with 7-year-old wisdom. "Maybe you just have to be brave and see what happens. Out of the mouths of babes. Lottie hugged her daughter close. When did you get so smart? I learned it from you. That night, after Evie was asleep, Lottie made a decision. She called Malik. I want to tell my story, she said. The real story. Not lawyers and PR firms, just me, talking to people directly. How? A press conference, tomorrow. I'll answer every question honestly. Let people see who I really am. That's risky. They'll ask about us, about the custody battle, about everything. Then I'll answer. No hiding, no spinning, just truth. Malik was quiet for a moment. What do you need me to do? Stand next to me. Let people see you're real. Let them hear your voice. That'll make things harder for you. People will have opinions about us. People already have opinions. At least this way, they'll be based on truth instead of lies. Okay, Malik said finally. Let's tell the truth. The press conference was scheduled for the next afternoon in the lobby of Wexler Industries. Lottie wore a simple blue dress and no jewelry except her grandmother's wedding ring. She wanted to look like herself, not like a corporate executive. Malik stood beside her in a clean white shirt and dark pants. He looked nervous but determined. The lobby was packed with reporters, cameras, and curious employees. Lottie stepped up to the microphone, her heart hammering. 3 weeks ago, a video was released that showed me walking through this lobby. The video claimed I was cruel to a hard-working employee. That video was a lie. She explained the evidence, the work orders, the access logs, the timeline that didn't match. She talked about Graham's betrayal and Derek's opportunistic custody grab. But this isn't just about me, she continued. It's about what happens when powerful people decide to destroy someone who threatens them. And it's about the courage of ordinary people who choose to do the right thing when it would be easier to stay quiet. She introduced Malik, who spoke briefly about what he'd witnessed and why he'd come forward. Ms. Wexler treated me with respect, he said simply. That should be the standard, not the exception. I spoke up because the truth matters and because everyone deserves to be seen as a human being. Then came the questions. They were tough, probing, sometimes hostile. Are you and Mr. Grant romantically involved? We're friends, Lottie answered honestly. Good friends who have supported each other through a difficult time. Don't you think it's inappropriate for a CEO to be friends with a janitor? I think it's inappropriate to judge relationships based on job titles. Malik Grant is one of the most honorable men I've ever known. I'm proud to call him my friend. What about the custody battle? Do you think you're fit to be a single mother while running a company? I think I'm the same mother I was before this scandal started. I love my daughter more than anything in the world. I show up for her every day. That's what good parenting is. Not perfect circumstances, but consistent love. After the press conference, Lottie and Malik stood in her office watching the news coverage. Think it helped? Malik asked. I don't know, but it felt good to tell the truth. Even if it cost you? Especially if it costs me. Some things are worth more than winning. Malik looked at her with something like admiration. You're braver than you think. Or stupider. Definitely braver. That night, the coverage was mixed. Some outlets praised Lottie's honesty, others questioned her judgment. Social media was divided, but for the first time, she had supporters defending her. The real test would come in the morning, when the board met to discuss the press conference and decide her fate. But that night, for the first time in weeks, Lottie slept peacefully. She'd told the truth. Whatever happened next, she could live with herself, and that was worth everything. The morning after the press conference, Lottie woke up to dozens of missed calls. Her phone had been buzzing all night with messages, interviews requests, and voicemails from people she hadn't heard from in years. But the call that mattered most came at 7 a.m. from Margaret Eldon. The board is meeting at 9, Margaret said. We need to discuss your future with the company. And? Come prepared to defend yourself. Not everyone was impressed with yesterday's performance. Lottie's stomach dropped. The press conference might have backfired. At breakfast, Evie picked at her cereal and watched her mom with worried eyes. "Are you in trouble again?" she asked. "I might be, baby. But whatever happens, you and I are going to be okay." "Promise?" "I promise." But as Lottie drove to work, she wasn't sure if she was lying. Everything felt like it was hanging by a thread. The boardroom was tense when she arrived. 7 faces around the table, and she couldn't read any of them. Margaret sat at the head, looking tired and frustrated. "Charlotte, yesterday's press conference has created quite a stir," Margaret began. "Some board members feel you acted rashly. Others appreciate your transparency." "Which group is larger?" Lottie asked. "That remains to be seen." Margaret opened a folder. "We've received Graham's formal response to the allegations. He's demanding a full investigation and threatening to sue the company for wrongful termination." "What's his story now?" "That you orchestrated this entire situation to frame him, that Mr. Grant is your accomplice, paid to lie about the evidence." Lottie felt her temper flare. "That's ridiculous." "Is it?" asked board member Thomas Wright. He was one of Graham's allies, always had been. "You publicly admitted to a personal relationship with Mr. Grant. How do we know this isn't all an elaborate scheme?" "Because the evidence speaks for itself." "Evidence that could have been planted." "By who? Malik? A night shift janitor who barely has access to his own supply closet?" "By you," Wright said bluntly. "You have access to everything. You could have staged all of this." The accusation hit like a slap. They thought she was capable of destroying her own reputation to frame an innocent man. "Why would I do that?" she asked. "To get rid of a CFO who was asking hard questions about your leadership style?" Margaret held up a hand. "That's enough speculation. We need facts." "Then let's get them," Lottie said. "Bring in an independent investigator, someone with no ties to anyone in this room. Let them examine everything, the work order, the camera footage, the access logs, Graham's computer, my computer, all of it." The room was quiet. Then Wright spoke again. "And if the investigation clears Graham?" "Then I'll resign," Lottie said without hesitation. "Effective immediately." Margaret's eyebrows rose. "Charlotte, that's a serious offer." "It's a serious situation. I'm willing to put everything on the line because I know the truth." The board exchanged glances. Finally, Margaret nodded. "We'll hire an independent firm. You'll have your investigation. But it goes both ways. If the evidence supports Graham's version of events, we expect you to honor your commitment." "I will." After the meeting, Lottie sat in her office feeling drained. She'd just bet her entire career on the truth. Either she was about to be vindicated, or she was about to lose everything. Her phone buzzed. Malik. "How did it go?" "I may have just committed career suicide." "What happened?" Lottie explained about the independent investigation and her promise to resign if Graham was cleared. "That was brave," Malik said. "That was stupid." "Sometimes they're the same thing." That afternoon brought more challenges. Dr. Henley called with the results of Evie's custody evaluation. "I'll be submitting my report to the court tomorrow," she said. "I can't discuss specifics, but I will say that Evie is clearly a well-adjusted child who feels secure in her current environment." It wasn't a guarantee, but it was something. Lottie felt a tiny spark of hope. The spark died an hour later when Derek's lawyer called. "We've scheduled the custody hearing for Friday morning," he said. "Judge Patricia Morrison presiding. We expect this to be resolved quickly." "What does that mean?" "It means we have a very strong case. You might want to consider a settlement. Shared custody, perhaps? It would save everyone a lot of pain." "No deal." "Your choice, but Friday's going to be ugly." That evening, Lottie sat on her couch with Evie curled up beside her, reading a story about a brave princess who saved her kingdom. She wished real life came with happy endings guaranteed. "Mom, what's a custody hearing?" Evie asked quietly. Lottie's heart lurched. "Where did you hear that?" "I heard you on the phone." "Is Daddy trying to take me away?" There was no point in lying. Evie was too smart, and she deserved the truth. Daddy thinks you should live with him for a while. There's going to be a meeting where a judge decides what's best for you. What do you think is best for me? I think you should stay with me. But the judge will listen to both of us and decide. What if she decides wrong? Lottie pulled Evie closer. Then we'll figure it out. But I'm going to fight for you as hard as I can. Because you're my heart, baby girl. And I don't give up on my heart. Thursday dragged by slowly. The independent investigators arrived and began their work, interviewing employees, examining computers, analyzing security footage frame by frame. Lottie tried to work normally, but her mind kept drifting to tomorrow's hearing. That evening, Malik came over for dinner. They cooked together while Evie did homework, creating a bubble of normalcy in the chaos. Tomorrow's the hearing, Lottie said quietly while they washed dishes. I know. What if I lose her? You won't. But what if I do? Malik dried his hands and turned to face her. Then we'll appeal, we'll fight, we'll do whatever it takes, but I don't think it'll come to that. How can you be so sure? Because I've watched you with her. I've seen how much she loves you. That doesn't happen by accident. Lottie wanted to believe him. She needed to believe him. After Evie went to bed, they sat on the front porch talking quietly. The photographers had mostly given up, leaving them alone with the night sounds of the neighborhood. Whatever happens tomorrow, Lottie said, I want you to know that meeting you changed my life. Changed it how? You showed me what integrity looks like. What it means to do the right thing when it costs you something. You made me want to be better. Malik reached for her hand. You were already better. You just needed someone to see it. Will you be there tomorrow, at the hearing? If you want me there. I do. I need to see a friendly face in the crowd. Then I'll be there. Friday morning arrived gray and drizzly. Lottie dressed carefully in a navy suit that was professional but not flashy. She wanted to look like a competent mother, not a corporate executive. At the courthouse, Derek was waiting with his lawyer and what looked like a small army of witnesses. Lottie recognized some faces, her old college roommate, her former babysitter, even a coworker from her first job. Derek had been thorough. Impressive turnout, Derek said when he saw her looking. People have a lot to say about your parenting style. I bet they do. Dr. Henley arrived and nodded politely at both parents. Her report would be crucial. When the hearing began, Derek's lawyer painted a picture of Lottie as an obsessive, controlling workaholic who put her career before her daughter. Witness after witness testified to her demanding nature, her long work hours, her recent erratic behavior. She's been photographed with a janitor, Derek's lawyer said. Bringing strange men around the child during a time of crisis, this shows poor judgment and instability. When it was Lottie's lawyer's turn, she presented a different story. Teachers from Evie's school testified about Lottie's involvement in her daughter's education. Neighbors talked about seeing them together at the park, at the grocery store, living a normal life. Miss Wexler is a devoted mother who has raised a happy, healthy child, her lawyer said. The recent media attention is unfortunate, but it doesn't change the fundamental truth: Evie belongs with her mother. Then Dr. Henley took the stand. Her report was thorough and carefully neutral, but her conclusion was clear. In my professional opinion, Evie is thriving in her current environment. She has a strong attachment to her mother and feels secure in their home. While she loves her father, she clearly sees Miss Wexler as her primary caregiver and source of stability. Derek's face darkened as his case began to crumble. The final blow came when Evie herself was brought in to speak to the judge privately. It took only 10 minutes, but when she came out, she walked straight to Lottie and climbed onto her lap. Judge Morrison reviewed her notes for what felt like an hour, but was probably only minutes. In custody matters, the court's primary concern is the best interests of the child, she said finally. While Mr. Wexler is clearly a loving father, the evidence shows that Evie's primary home has been and should continue to be with her mother. The current custody arrangement will remain in place. Lottie felt her knees go weak with relief. Derek's face was a mask of fury, but it was over. Evie was safe. In the hallway outside the courtroom, Evie hugged her tight.
I get to stay with you?
You get to stay with me.
Forever?
Forever. Malik appeared at her shoulder, smiling broadly. Congratulations.
Thank you for everything.
What's next? Home, ice cream, celebration. But first, she had to get through the rest of the workday. The independent investigation was wrapping up, and the results were due this afternoon. Back at the office, Margaret called an emergency board meeting for 4 o'clock. The investigators have finished their preliminary report, she said. We need to discuss next steps. The boardroom felt different this time, less hostile. The independent investigators had been thorough and professional, examining every piece of evidence without bias. Their findings are conclusive, Margaret said, holding up a thick folder. The video was doctored, the maintenance door was propped open intentionally. Someone with administrative access downloaded and edited the footage before releasing it online. Graham? Asked Wright, though he already knew the answer. Graham Vale orchestrated the entire incident. Mr. Grant's testimony was accurate. Miss Wexler was the victim of a deliberate campaign to damage her reputation. The room was silent. Even Wright looked uncomfortable. Where does that leave us? Someone asked. It leaves us apologizing to Charlotte and terminating Mr. Vale immediately, Margaret said firmly. We also owe Mr. Grant a significant debt of gratitude. Later that afternoon, Graham was escorted from the building by security. He didn't go quietly. You'll regret this, he shouted as they led him away. Both of you. But his words felt empty now. The truth had finally won. That evening, Lottie, Evie, and Malik celebrated with pizza and ice cream at Lottie's house. The mood was light and joyful, like a weight had been lifted from all of them. So what happens now? Malik asked after Evie had gone to bed. Now we figure out what comes next. And what do you want to come next? Lottie looked at him, sitting across from her at the kitchen table. This man who had risked everything to defend her, who had shown her what real strength looked like, who had become essential to her happiness without her even realizing it. I want you in my life, she said simply. Not because of what you did for me, but because of who you are. And who am I? You're kind, you're brave, you're honest. You see people for who they really are, not what they can do for you. She paused. You're the man I want to wake up next to, the man I want Evie to look up to, the man I want to build a life with. Malik reached across the table and took her hand. Are you asking me to move in? I'm asking you to stay, however that looks, whatever feels right, just stay. What about the world? What about people who'll have opinions about us? The world can have all the opinions it wants. I'm done living my life for other people's approval. Malik smiled. Then yes, I'll stay. 3 months later, on a sunny Saturday morning, Lottie woke up to the smell of pancakes and the sound of laughter from the kitchen. She found Malik and Evie cooking together, flour in their hair and syrup on their fingers. Morning, sleepyhead, Malik said, kissing her cheek. Mom, we made heart-shaped pancakes, Evie announced. I can see that. They're beautiful. They ate breakfast on the back porch, watching birds in the garden Malik had planted. It was quiet and peaceful and perfect in its ordinariness. Later that afternoon, they walked to the park where Evie ran ahead to the playground. Lottie and Malik sat on a bench, watching her play. Do you ever miss it? Malik asked. Miss what? The drama, the excitement, the high-stakes corporate world. Lottie thought about it. Sometimes, but this is better. This quiet happiness, this feeling like I'm exactly where I belong. Malik took her hand. I love you. It wasn't the first time he'd said, but it still made her heart race. I love you too. Even if I'm just a janitor? You're not just anything. You're everything. At the playground, Evie called for them to watch her go down the big slide. They cheered and applauded, playing their roles as devoted parents with natural ease. Can we get ice cream? Evie asked when they finally convinced her to leave. Sure, Lottie said. And can we invite Mrs. Henderson from next door? She looks lonely. Malik and Lottie exchanged a smile. Evie's big heart was one of the many gifts in their new life. Of course we can, Malik said. As they walked home, ice cream plans expanding to include half the neighborhood, Lottie marveled at how much had changed. 6 months ago, she'd been a driven, lonely CEO whose daughter barely knew her. Now she was part of a real family, built on love and respect and showing up for each other every day. It wasn't the life she'd planned. It was better. That evening, after ice cream and neighbors and all, the beautiful chaos of their expanded family, Lottie and Malik sat on the front porch steps. Evie was inside getting ready for bed, calling out updates on her progress. I found my pajamas! Good job, baby! I brushed my teeth! Excellent! I can't find Mr. Elephant. Check under your bed! They laughed at the familiar routine. This was their life now, real and messy and wonderful. No regrets? Malik asked quietly. About what? Any of it. The scandal, the custody battle, choosing us over what everyone expected. Lottie leaned against his shoulder, feeling the solid warmth of him. The only thing I regret is how long it took me to figure out what really matters. And what really matters? This. Love that shows up, family that's chosen, not just born into, a home built on honesty instead of performance. That's a pretty good list. It's a perfect list. Later, after Evie was tucked into bed with Mr. Elephant safely in her arms, Lottie and Malik cleaned up the kitchen together. It was a simple domestic scene, but it felt profound in its normalcy. Mom, Evie called from upstairs. Will you tell me the story about the princess again? Which princess story? Lottie called back. The one about the princess who thought she had to be perfect, but then learned she just had to be brave. Lottie looked at Malik, who was grinning. Did you teach her that story? I may have embellished a few fairy tales. I'll be right there, sweetheart, Lottie called to Evie. She started toward the stairs, then turned back to kiss Malik softly. Thank you, she said. For what? For teaching me the difference between being perfect and being brave. You taught yourself that. I just reminded you who you already were. Upstairs, Evie was waiting with bright eyes and messy hair. Tell me the story, Mom. Once upon a time, there was a princess who thought she had to be perfect. And then what happened? Then she met a brave knight who helped her remember that being good was more important than looking good. And they lived happily ever after. But not because he rescued her, right? Right, because they rescued each other. Evie smiled and snuggled into her pillow. I like that ending. Me too, baby. Me too. As Lottie turned off the light and headed back downstairs, she thought about endings and beginnings. About how the worst thing that ever happened to her had led to the best thing that ever happened to her. Downstairs, Malik was waiting with a cup of tea and a quiet smile. Happy? He asked. Completely. And she was. Not because everything was perfect, but because everything was real. She had a daughter who trusted her, a man who loved her, and a life built on truth instead of appearances. It was more than enough, it was everything. Outside their window, the city hummed with life and possibility. But inside their home, wrapped in love and laughter and the promise of ordinary tomorrows, they had found something even better than perfection. They had found each other, and that was the only happy ending that mattered.